as a final step in our first week of learning math and getting used to these topics, I just wanted to talk a little bit about problem solving in general. There are a few tips in problem solving that make you a more successful mathematician and make you a little more likely to survive your math class. So we start with Poya's 4 steps in problem solving. I probably say Poya wrong. I believe that's how it's said. George Poya was a famous mathematician not too long ago, I think in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and he's very well renowned. He has a lot of math that he does in spectral geometry and some fancy topics. So, step 1 in Poya's 4 steps of problem solving is understanding the problem. Plenty of people, especially those with math anxiety, will read through a problem as quickly as possible, get through the first read through, and then realize they didn't learn anything. They don't know what the problem was asking. So you should always read a problem a few times, especially if you're not positive what it's asking. Write down what information is given. Write down what you think to be important information. Pull it out of the problem. And then determine exactly what the problem would like you to find. What is the problem asking? If you follow this step 1, then you should be on a good track to tackle the problem in a positive way. Moving forward, step 2, devise a plan. Use inductive reasoning to find a pattern. Try to find some kind of pattern to make the problem easier. Make a list or a table. Use an estimation to make an educated guess. Try to express the problem in a more simple way. List the given information just like in step 1. Try making a sketch. Relate the problem to similar problems which you've solved before. We all know this is very important in math classes. If you're doing a problem where you're not supposed to be using any outside resources, it's probably very similar to something you've seen before. Step 3, carry out the plan and try to solve the problem. Once you have a plan, carry it out, work through it, and try to solve the problem. Step 4 is one of the most important steps in most math problems because oftentimes you'll find an answer that just doesn't make sense, but you'll leave that answer because you don't look back and check your answer. The answer should satisfy the conditions which the problem presented. The answer should make sense and be reasonable. Your answer should make complete sense to you. And now I would like you to take a minute and go into our class, go to the next video in the list, and watch this video here. It'll be posted there. So now let's put Poya's 4 steps in action. Problem solving example, what's missing here? So the first thing we want to do is we want to pull out all the information. So a man purchased 5 shirts. A man's buying 5 shirts, each at the same discounted price. How much did he pay for them? So we see immediately we can't really solve this problem. So what's missing? Well, we don't know the discounted price and we don't know the original price. We do not know the price. Do not know prices. So sometimes problems are not answerable. Sometimes you're just not given enough information. Now, let's talk about that first step in Poya's process, pulling out the important information. Let's talk about this problem here. What is unnecessary? We have a roll of easy, and this is something that happens a lot in plenty of math problems, so this one's pretty important. A roll of easy wipe paper towels contains 100 sheets and costs $1.38. A comparable brand, Quick Clean, contains 5 dozen sheets per roll and costs $1.23. If you need 3 rolls of paper towels, which brand is the better value? So we might know how to solve this question, but what's not important here? We need 3 rolls of paper towels, that's all we need to know. A roll of easy white paper towels contains 100 sheets. Well, that's a number. Do we need that number, 100 sheets? The problem doesn't care about how many sheets we have, it just cares about what the price of a roll is. So we actually don't need this 100 sheets. That's unnecessary information. A comparable brand, Quick Clean, contains 5 dozen sheets per roll. Well, once again, we don't need to know how many sheets per roll they have because that's not the question. We need 3 rolls of toilet paper. We don't care how many sheets are on each roll. So sometimes there's plenty of unnecessary information that might throw you off. You might try to include this 5 dozen number in your answer somewhere. You might try to include the 100 in your problem, and if you did, you would probably end up with the wrong answer unless you're extremely likely. So, example 3 here. Let's follow all of the steps. So step 1 is to read the problem a few times. I'm just going to read it once, but you're welcome to pause the video and read it more. But I'm going to read it out loud once, and we're going to pull out any information we think is important. By paying $100 cash up front and the balance at $20 a week, how long will it take to pay for a bicycle costing $680? Okay, so we're originally paying $100. $100 of $680. That's our original payment. And then we're going to continue by paying $20 per week. We're going to be paying $20 a week. How long will it take to pay for a bicycle costing $680? So, the first thing we know is we upfront paid $100 of the $680. So if you paid $100 up front, you know that all you have left to pay is $580. Now from here, we move into that step 2 where we devise a plan. If I were to do this problem, I might start counting up by 20. I might do 20, 40, 60 and see how many weeks I have. That might be a table. I might just straight divide this by 20. But even if I did that, there's an easier thing to do. I might set it up like this. 580 over 20 in a fraction rather than a division statement, so that I can see that these zeros can be canceled. So my answer is just going to be 58 divided by 2, 58 weeks divided by 2. And half of 58 is 25 plus 4, or 29. So what is this 29? How long will it take to pay for a bicycle costing $680? So I will guess 29 weeks. That's what I think my answer is going to be. And how do we tell if this is the right answer? What if we move into step 4? Step 3 was just to carry out the math. Step 4 is to make sure your answer makes sense. Well, we're paying $20 a week for 29 weeks. Let's multiply it. 20 times 29 is going to be 58 with a 0 after it, plus the $100 that we already paid, and it brings us back to 680. Working backwards, we do get the correct answer. And that is Poya's 4 steps of solving a problem. You might think you don't need it, but then you might run into a problem later on that throws you off. That's Poya's 4 steps in problem solving.